I am extremely excited to make this video today. You see, I made a bunch of hitbox related videos on several different controllers, but I've never talked about the one that I use the most and the one that I still use daily, the Hitbox Arcade Controller. Now, the reason I haven't talked about it very much or at all really is because my unit, my personal one, is so much different than what you receive in the mail. I feel like it would be kind of disingenuous if I made a review on this and then this is what you received in the mail. It's just not the same thing, as well as the fact that mine's pretty dated at this point. It's kind of beat up, and it doesn't have some of the new quality of life features that the newer unit does. But that's enough introduction, and thank you to Dr. African over at Hitbox for sending me this unit to make this video. With that out of the way, let's talk business. What you're looking at here is a 24mm Sanwa Denshi button. These things are pretty standard. If you played on an arcade stick before, you know what these feel like just in their 30mm variant, right? The bigger ones that you usually use for your 8 moves on the right side. They feel great when you slap them. They sound great. They have good tactile feedback, and there's really nothing offensive about them. But just because they're not offensive doesn't mean they're your best option. You see, I have no issue with those white buttons being Sanwa ones. Those are your attacks, so like kick, punch, everything like that. But the red ones, those are your movement buttons. Those being Sanwa buttons become a bit of a problem over time. Because if you notice, there is a lot of play in these buttons, right? So when it comes to movement, you're not slapping them anymore. Usually you're holding your finger on them and then moving about as you would. You're not slapping them and micro-walking all the time. You need to hold them, or you need to always have your hand hovering over it, right? On the right side, it's whatever. You can hover your hands and you can slap the buttons from whatever distance you want. The left side's a little bit different because it's a movement. And when you're holding your fingers down on these and they're constantly shifting because they have so much play in them. Let's see if I can get it to focus. If I'm holding my finger here and it's constantly moving like this because maybe I have an unsteady hand or something that I don't know about, it gets a bit annoying. As well as the fact that these buttons are extremely sensitive compared to gamer finger buttons or buttons that use little key switches, little mechanical key switches like that. These buttons are pretty sensitive, so when you're constantly moving and having all that play, sometimes you slip and your button goes down and you get an input you just didn't want. It feels okay for a little while, but in the long run, I would suggest upgrading to a mechanical switch if you can. If not, you can always do what I used to do, where you where you essentially rotate the buttons around like they're tires on a car. So if these buttons start feeling mushy or they have too much play in them or they're overused, you just take this one and move it all the way like over here and then take this button and just replace them, right? You can rotate them like car tires if you really wanted to. As far as the buttons feeling mushy over time, it could just be placebo. If it's not, it's probably attributed to this thing, which is what's underneath the plunger, the part that you press. It's underneath that on the button, and it's just kind of a bit of plastic that works as an actuator, and you just press it down, right? That's all you're doing. On a gamer finger button or on any mechanical button, usually, this is what's underneath. It's an actual just like MX Cherry switch or Gatoron switch, whatever you have underneath the part that you're pressing down on. I feel like these have a very consistent travel time, so every time that you press it, it bounces back up to the same height every single time. I don't know if that's the case with these, if over time maybe it gets shorter or something with use. Or again, if it's all just placebo and I have been fed marketing tactics that I ate up and bought a bunch of gamer finger buttons for. I don't know. So as far as I know, this thing works on the PC, it works on the Switch, the PS4, and tentatively the PS5. It's not guaranteed to work on it, but it might happen to work on a few games. That's what it says on the website and on the product page if you go to order one. The build quality on this thing is unmatched. It is a steel case, which kind of gives it some heft, even though it's not quite as big as a normal fight stick. When you think of a durable stick, you usually think of the Obsidian, or you think of the Dragon, or even the VLX, you know, those big guys. This one is just as hefty and just as durable as those other sticks, and probably about half the size. I played on an Obsidian before I switched to Hitbox, and this thing is more durable. The sides of my Obsidian got chipped up a little bit. This thing does not chip, it does not waver, and it will not yield, no matter how much you rage. Trust me, you should see my other one. I would show it to you, but I'm too embarrassed. Traveling with it is no problem. Walking around the venue with it is not an issue. I didn't even use the drawstring bag that came with it for like the first couple locals I went to. I literally just held it like this I literally held it like an animal, and it was it was completely fine. Not even the plexi chip. And while we're talking about the build quality, you can see there that there's now a non-slip sort of foam here, a non-slip pad underneath. The old one, the one that I have back there, does not have that. I actually double-side taped a mouse pad to the bottom of that one, but this one ships with it, so that is a pretty big quality of life change, as well as the fact that the chassis is, I'd say about an inch and a half thinner than the old model, so that's pretty good. I do like the new size, and the non-slip pad is a huge plus, because it really does suck to wear like basketball shorts and then your hitbox is just sliding off your lap because it's just metal on like a slippery surface. The other thing you might have noticed in that shot is these screws are no longer hex. So the one at the top middle, that one right there, it used to be a hex screw, so you'd have to use like an Allen key to undo it. Now it's just a regular screw, which I appreciate very much. So now in my little toolkit, I don't have to carry around one single Allen key that fits that screw and then just a screwdriver. The cable is also the same, which is kind of bittersweet because I don't like the fact that it is like a proprietary cable that you have to buy from Hitbox. And last time I said that, somebody commented and said this is an aviator plug. So this is an aviator cable, and you might be able to buy that online somewhere. When you look it up, you can only find this connector to USB-C, not to normal USB-A that I need. And the only place that you can find that is at Hitbox. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still a proprietary cable that I have to buy from Hitbox. This is the main and probably the only big issue that I have, is that I'd like to see a Hitbox that's USB-C, but I'm not sure if that's possible. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because I don't know you. I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know your wants and your needs. I don't know how you're built, how this controller will fit in your lap, if those little controllers fit in your lap, if you even play with it in your lap. You might put it on a table. I don't know you. So it's hard for me to give you a personal recommendation on which Hitbox style controller you should buy. But if you're looking for a safe, reliable option, something that has never failed me, time and time again, I've thrown all kinds of obstacles at this thing, and it has never failed me. That's why I'm making this review today. I was not paid for this. They sent me this to make videos about. They told me to do whatever I wanted with it. I didn't even have to make this review, but I felt inclined to do so because of how much I've gone through with this controller and how well it served me. And I always recommend that people buy this as their first Hitbox, but I've never talked about it. So I hope this video gave you an idea of why, to me, this is your safe option. This is one Hitbox that everybody should have in their collection before they start branching out into those tiny ones. To me, those small hitboxes are good at what they do, which is having a small form factor and being functional and pretty durable. You can throw them in your backpack, you can take them wherever you need to, and do whatever you want with them. But when you try and play on them every day as your daily driver, they're just a little bit too small for comfort. And for me, when I was playing on the Micro XL, I think I played on it for a month for the review video that I did, I started to develop like weird wrist discomfort, not really pain, but just some discomfort, and then some real pain right here in my elbow, to the point where I stopped playing on that and I went back to the bigger form factor one just to see if there would be a difference, and the pain went away when I played on the bigger form factor. I'm not sure if those small hitboxes are made to be played on every single day, and since they're so new, it feels like there just hasn't been adequate, I don't want to say testing, but like market testing, right? Like consumers playing on it for long periods of time. And I never made a video on that because I felt like it was a me problem. You know, it's how I sit, it's how I'm built, how I use my arms. It might not be like that for everybody, but for me, it was just a little bit too much discomfort. So I went back to the bigger form factor. That's why I consider this the safe option, because I always come back to it. Now, there's much more I'd like to talk about with the Hitbox, but I'm going to save that for another video because we're going to be doing some real work to this thing. And I'm going to show you guys how to customize it, how to add art, how to change the buttons, how to do everything you want to do to make it yours. I hope this video helped you out. I hope it found somebody who needed it today, and I hope to help you make a decision. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. I'll talk to you again very soon.